Honorable members, good morning. I think having browsed through
Recording in progress.
I've noticed that the majority of the members are currently logged in. Therefore, I want us to start. Time is 10 o'clock.
Good morning, Chair.
Good morning, ma'am.
Njani bakhaya?
Konjani.
Ngiyaphila.
Yes.
Enkosi.
Bawumathi TV. Sawubona.
Yes, Chairperson, how are you?
Sikhona baba.
Okay.
Well, let's start the meeting, honorable members. I wish to welcome everybody, especially welcome to the chairperson, who is going to be my co-chairperson, since this is a joint session between the Public Enterprise and the Select Committee, which is Portfolio Committee of Public Enterprise and the Select Committee. We welcome members from both committees, members of the Portfolio Committee and Select Committee, and welcome to the delegation of Denel that is expected to provide us with the presentation. Officials of the Department of Public Enterprise and all other guests that are part of this session, you are all welcome. The purpose of this meeting, honorable members, is to receive a briefing which will be given by the Denel to appraise this joint meeting of Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprise and the Select Committee on Public Enterprise and Communication on the developments that have taken place at Denel since our last engagement. Secondly, for the entity to give a progress update on the addressing governance and challenges in state-owned entity. It is also common cause that Denel is facing a serious challenge, serious financial challenges, members emanating from state capture, lack of business from both our governance and internationally, and the lack of investment in infrastructure and the inability to meet financial obligation, particularly the workers of Denel, who are forever not sure if their salaries are coming or not. We would like to understand how the board, the shareholder, and the government of South Africa has been addressing these matters. And we hope that in this presentation, we'll be getting that. I also would like to welcome the ministry. I expecting the ministry to be also part of this session. I haven't yet received any apology so far. Without wasting time, I would like us to get the ministry or any person or the DG among the two to give an overview before we actually go to the presentation. As we normally do also, as we normally do when we have a joint session with the Select Committee and the Portfolio Committee, we normally do the same process. I will be doing the process that I'm engaging on it now, which is welcoming everybody and give those who will be making presentation. And after that, the chairperson, Honorable Matibi, will take the process in order to make it a point that everybody engages and scrutinize the presentation. And after that, we close. And that's the normal procedure. Yeah. Is there anyone from the side of the ministry, which is the shareholder, or perhaps the DG, if the minister has delegated him to provide us with that overview before we actually go to the presentation?
Good morning, Chairperson, or Chairpersons, I think would be the right word. And to honorable members.
This time, we're two chairpersons.
Yeah, so you have two centers of power there, Chair. And morning to all honorable members, and good morning as well to the Denel team and the DPE team that has joined us, and everyone else that has spent the time to be with us this morning. Chair, the presentation that you'll be receiving is from Denel. It is speaking to the state of the business, the plans that have been formulated to reposition Denel going forward as a critical component of our national security system. Chair, upfront, I should just indicate that there is a team that is an intergovernmental team that is working to ensure that we come up with a financial support for Denel, but secondly, most importantly, to ensure that that there is a pipeline of work that is directed towards Denel. We have the Department of Defense and National Treasury having joined us in that effort. And the first hurdle has been to ensure that the government guaranteed debt are taken care of as we go forward. And secondly is to be able to get the capital required to restructure Denel. What this, and I think it's important that we term it properly, because it has been reported as that when we provide financial support for restructuring, that it's classified under the broad umbrella of bailout. This is not a bailout. A bailout is when you continue to fund an entity to cover operational losses. And there are no plans to restructure the business to be sustainable going forward. So this is not that. With the initial tranche of funding that will be given to Denel, we'll have a business that will be able to live within its means. And that is really the context that I just wanted to put forward to say it will be a smaller Denel going forward, but it will be a much more stronger Denel with a very strong base for growth. And that's what we intend to share with you. And lastly, the team will also give you a sense in terms of some of the historical wrongdoings that went on in the business, what has been done to address that, such that we are able to develop a new culture in the business, and obviously a much more ethical leadership emerges from all this. But we are quite confident that with the board and the executive that is in place in Denel, really that fundamental requirement in leading such an important entity of state that we have established that. And we are grateful that this leadership, despite the challenges that were already there when they came in, still opted to come in to help us in sorting out this business. And they should be commended really for showing that patriotism. On that note, thank you so much, Chair.
Okay, then let's move to the actual presentation. Are you ready, members of Denel?
Yes, Chair, we are ready.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, honorable members, and good morning to the Department, GPE, and National Treasury that are present in here, and also to the chairperson of the board, Ms. Gloria Sorobia. I think she's part of this meeting. Chair, as you've alluded to, I'll give a presentation on the current state of Denel and also touch base on the relationship, that we have with AMSCO and SANDF. These are the key points, salient points that we'll cover in the presentation, Chair. Before we start, I'd like to give sort of an overview, Chair, on where we are in terms of the industry as a whole, which is the South African defense industry. You will note, Chair, that the global defense expenditure is growing. Most of the countries in European markets, they are spending close to 2% of their GDP invested in the defense sector. In South Africa, as we speak, we are spending no less than 0.08% of GDP in defense. So that correlation, which is important to note. And also key to note, Chair, it is that as the local defense budget is diminishing, at a very rapid rate, as you can see, in 2016, we were sitting at around 6 billion of the special defense account to current probably less than 1 billion that we are sitting at. And that shows and will demonstrate the dire straits that the defense sector is suffering in South Africa. And it requires us as Denel to be able to relook at our strategies, relook at ourselves, in order for us we can be able to reposition ourselves for sustainability in the current climate that we are living in. If you look at the defense sector as a whole, Chair, there had been a decline in revenue since 2016, as you can see, to 2020 financial year of around 7 billion. And also similarly with the decline in the exports to around 6.5 billion over that period. And key to note also, it is the reduction in terms of the R&D from 1.7 billion to 500 million. And also the decline in the employment rate within the sector between 50,000 to 12,500 share. So these are key to just demonstrate where we are within the sector that we operate at in the country. And as I've alluded to, that the countries globally, they are increasing their expenditure to be able to cap this, which is very much opposite to where we are as a country. So the strategic rationale in terms of Denel existence is that we are still a company and really, driven by commercially driven, to be innovative in this particular sector and offer these products, that are of high caliber within the industry itself. There was a review that was done in 2015, and in order to assess, the importance of Denel within the defense sector, and that rationale is that the purpose of this Denel is really to design and develop and manufacture and also support the defense material. So this is a purpose, this is our strategic rationale, the reason for our existence. And key also, Chair, to this, it is we are the custodian of that sovereign and strategic capability of the country. I think these two are important to note as to why Denel is there and the reason why it needs to exist in a whole. I won't go too much into the detail of the presentation. I'm sure the members have read through it. And also, Chair, given our strategic sort of importance, we are still relevant in terms of national security, providing that national security. This is part of the socio-economic impact that we have in the country. And our development mandate, Chair, is to create jobs for both disabled and the youth, and also transform the sector, Chair. So these are also key, Chair, and we brought them up so that we understand that we are not operating outside of the development mandate of the country. There was a study that was done in developing the master plan, Chair, and the output of it has been purported in here is that if we do not do anything within the industry itself, and we do not assist Denel to can be able to operate efficiently and effectively, we will become a technology taker, meaning that we'll adopt technologies developed by other countries. And you'll know that we've been in the forefront of defense technology around the world. So should we not resuscitate this industry, and particularly Denel, we will become these technology takers and will be vulnerable to sovereign pressure, because that sovereign capability will have been lost to the rest of the world. And of course, yes, we won't be able to refuse competition, and that the economy won't be able to benefit out of the capabilities that we have. So these are key, Chair, in that they needed to be noted, and also the Industrial Defense Council has also did their own analysis in terms of the existence of Denel, and in that the non-existence of Denel will compromise the national security, and it will collapse the entire defense industry, because it is dependent on Denel as a sole defense technology, which is an SOE within that sector. So it is important that we had this particular view, Chair. In order for us to can be able to exist, Chair, we are of the view that despite the problems that we have within the industry itself, we are sort of a post, Chair, to become globally competitive and develop these country strategies in order to advance these technologies, Chair, and also be able to contribute in the national security and peacekeeping in the country and probably the entire continent, Chair. So with regards to the relationship that we have with SANDF, Chair, we have numerous projects as they've been displayed in here that are contracted with SANDF, from Project Tostar. You still got your Hofester project and other projects. And in the main, most of these projects are in the MRO business, which is the maintenance, repair, and overhaul. And also we have some of the projects that are in on the production sphere, which is based on the PNP. What is key, Jay, is that this is what is sitting on the left in terms of the classification of what I termed in my previous slide in terms of sovereign capability, that your sovereign and medium caliber ammunition, as is been displayed in your guided missile, your UAVs, your GBADs, are classified as sovereign capabilities. And we have these capabilities that we call strategic capabilities, which are in the main in the assault rifles and the small guns and so forth. So these are key to separate the two, to understand where we are sitting, where we say something is sovereign and something is classified as strategic. So coming to the current state of Denel, Chair, not a very rosy picture. Year to date, from April to date, Chair, we are sitting at a negative margins around 368 million. So we are running at a loss. And I think it's important, Chair, to know that in our environment, and because we run multi-year contracts, Denel in the first 2 months of the financial year, they become at this stage where in the revenues generated are at a very low state, because some of the contracts are getting renewed for the new financial year, as we work back to back with AMSCO in terms of their financial year closeout. Then that's where most of the contracts are sitting. So it is important to know that, Chair. And also, as I've alluded to, the revenue at this stage, we are sitting at 60% behind year-to-date budget, resulting in those gross margins of around 6%. And this 3.7 revenue budget that we have is at risk as we speak. So this is a picture that we have on the current state of Denel, and the myriad of issues that resulted to this, as the DG has alluded, that the financial constraints that we find ourselves in our ability to be able to invest in these particular projects are hampering us to move forward. So we are unable to meet those operational requirements, as I said. We owe employees in the region of 656 million, and supplier costs are sitting at 900 million. So you're looking at around 1.5 billion of costs sitting between the suppliers and the employees that we owe. And of course, yes, we are projecting a negative cash flow of around 600 million for this particular year. When we presented, when we gave this presentation, I think on the 17th of July, we had issues of these tax clearance certificates that we are now have reached a consensus with SARS to can be able to sort it out. And we have reached an agreement to start paying for this particular month. So we are on a path to resolve that particular issue. Now, with regards to the rating, Chair, yes, the rating has been affected by the current state, adversely so, Chair, that the rating is a CC and C respectively on both the long and the term and the short term rating, Chair. The uncertainty of Denel did have an impact on this particular rating, Chair, and also we have noted that there are concerns both from the customers, the clients, and as well as the suppliers in terms of the financial situation of Denel. As you have noted, and this is in the public domain, Chair, with regards to the sub-litigation matter that we are busy sorting out, and we are hoping that we can reach a settlement with SAP once we have done our verification and as we have agreed between the two parties that we do the verification of what the claim was and obviously come to a conclusion at some point to deal with that particular matter. And of course, yes, we have seen a number of employees taking the company to court. And those are employees that are currently employed at Denel, and some of them have exited the system that have taken Denel in their own personal capacity to court to can be able to be paid what is being owed to them. And this is some of the situations, Chair, that we are facing as Denel. If you look at the human resource dashboard, Chair, as you can see, in April, as at April this financial year, we had about 2,662, and at the end of June, we have now 2,529 employees. And the results of the exit is that in the main, the people that are exiting the system are the people that we actually need to can be able to convert some of these projects that we have. So these are artists and technical people, engineers, project managers, and apprentices. These are the people in the technical sphere that are leaving the business for various reasons, Chair. And as you can see at the top, there are some entrants, which is surprising that there are people that are still interested to work for Denel, in as much as we are in the position that we are in. And I'm sure they still value Denel as a company to be working at. So we have this statistics, Chair, for your benefit to understand where we are in terms of the employee. This is just a slide that demonstrates the current capacity that we have under the technical sphere. We have about 297 engineers, about 1,110 production technicians, as well as design and development technicians. But as at March, the end of March, which is the end of the last financial year, we had about 1,709 technical workforce, which has reduced to 1,638 to date at the end of June. I won't dwell too much into this in terms of the reflections on the human capital, But key to note is that we are repurposing the company, and you'll see in the slide following, as part of the strategy going forward to address some of the issues that we have and restructure this business and right size it as a DG has alluded to become leaner and focus into our main or core businesses that we have. And there are quick wins, Chair, that are there in implementing new structure. And some of those will elaborate more on them in the slide coming. So coming to the strategy, Chair, which is the main topic as to where we are with the strategy. This is a strategy that was approved in 2019, more looking at retaining the capabilities and also looking at the SEPs and so forth. We had a look at the strategy. We have revisited the strategy. Does it still resonate with the business as we speak? And part of that strategy really was focusing on exiting non-core businesses and also seeking partnerships, as you can see in the red and the yellow, into these domains. And those domains are infantry system, artillery systems, and also looking at military aircraft and armored vehicles. And the way criteria that was used in looking at this particular criteria, we had gone back and re-looked at the business and say, does this strategy still conform to the norms of the current situation that we have going forward as a business? And we have now adapted a new strategy. This new strategy will still retain the core capabilities, will drive the contract execution and efficiencies and improve the cost structure. So these are the main things that we'll be looking at into the new strategy. And we also want to meet those requirements, Chair, of the SNDF and ensure that we still support them. And we also want to leverage our skills and be the leader in the industry, both in the homeland security and just PS cluster requirements. And we also want to transition the company to look beyond the fourth industrial revolution to the fifth industrial revolution as a technology leader. The key benefits and case for change, Chair, is that there are improvements that could be realized relating to the economies of scope, cost savings from the shared activities and creating the centers of excellence and leveraging those center of excellence in supply chain, human resource, capital, IT, and finance, and of course, yes, and reduction in the cost structure. If you look at the operating model, Chair, and we emphasize the cost structure because there's two things that we have to take note, Chair, in our business. We are very highly competitive in the market. We compete with the best of the world, and we compete on price, we compete on quality, and also we compete also on delivery, right? And those are the main key drivers of how we compete globally. And where we are sitting, wherein we design not to consume the products, but we design because the client requires this particular product. It poses a very critical sort of a component on our overheads, because we as we compete with the global market, because we don't have economies of scale to can be able to compete. So our costs sometimes are very high. So we had a look at this and say, let's try and deal with the cost structure while there's no influx of big projects that are coming in. As you have seen in my first slide, that the expenditure has been beaten down from the defense, and it probably to continue to do so in the near future, as there are no major acquisitions. So we are forced to look elsewhere into the market, and thus it requires us to clean the house in order for us to can be able to be competitive in the market and also be able to afford ourselves, from operations. So hence we developed the strategy really to say, let's consolidate some of these capabilities in order to reach the cost structure. So part of it is that we'll have what we call engineering department, which looks at innovation, design, and integration. Previously, Chair, we had engineers integrated to both maintenance and manufacturing. So you will not separate engineering from manufacturing. Globally and progressive companies, Chair, they do operating models like this, where in their other manufacturing company and they buy the designs from elsewhere, or they are a design company and they deliver the solution with other companies on a turnkey solution. But how Denel is designed is that we own the whole value chain. But it was important, Chair, as you have alluded to, that issues of governance have been a key in really getting us where we are today, where Denel has collapsed. And we are trying to deal with those by separating some of these duties, where there are separation of duties of what the engineers does, there are separation of duties in terms of what the guys in production and maintenance are doing, in order for us to be able to deal with those costs in those particular projects. And we see we are able to see beyond a contract, where the contract is there, we know where the problem lies. And currently you are unable to do that because we own that value chain, and hence some of these projects are late. So we are trying with this particular model to enable us as a business to can be able to hold these two divisions to account for their outputs, and hence this model. And those notes are there, Chair, in the right-hand side, where we are dealing with the overheads. We are also dealing with the IP protection. As you know, that in all of these divisions, the IP is sitting in all of these divisions, and they are all managing it by themselves. And with the issues that we have with the IP being stolen within the company, we thought it's prudent that we centralize the management of this IP in order to protect it going forward. And of course, yes, we still want to commercialize and exploit this IP in the commercial market. Streamlining this business is key, Chair. As I said, it deals with the cost structure, and it also deals with the governance issues that we have. Key what is sitting in the middle, Chair, and just note on the exit and disposal, you will have noted that in the slide that deals with the strategy as it was approved in 2019, we had a look at this exit of these various entities, like the Space Tech. We are dealing with it, and we are hoping to close the matter very soon. Mayhem, we are evaluating that business case, whether to sell or not to sell. Gear ratio, we have made a decision, and we took the decision with the board last week to go on the exit of this particular division, not division, but the business unit, and purely because it is not sustainable, Chair. We are looking at it from the sustainability perspective. We are looking at diminishing sort of a work that needs to be executed within this division. So that's the main purpose that we re-looked at these divisions. And one, but this, Chair, is the property consolidation. And I have to emphasize this, we have not taken the decision to sell the property. We are evaluating the good or the best use of this particular property. So as we know, we have properties all over the country, in Cape Town, here in Gauteng, where some of these divisions are sitting. So we are reevaluating that, and we want to optimize this property. And part of the consolidation that we have in the two divisions is to deal with that optimization of the property and see which of the property can we lease out either to the public or interested parties, Chair. So we have not made a decision, and up until that process is done, we'll then make a decision whether to exit or not exit those properties. Key again, Chair, in this presentation is that we have associated in Rheinmetall, in Barrage Dynamics and Hensoldt, and all three of them we have taken the decision to exit these business units, subsidiaries, Chair. We hold in most of them, I think in Barrage and Rheinmetall 49%, and in Hensoldt around 3% of our shareholding in there that we want to access to, can be able to deal with the liquidity issues in the interim, Chair. So the drivers of this strategy, Chair, is really to adapt to change in the global markets, and we want to evolve as a high-performing organization, and also restructure the balance sheet and ensure the financial stability of the business. We want to reduce the overheads and redundancies in the business, Chair, and also we want to retain the core capabilities and the sovereign capabilities. And as I said, we want to optimize and access, we want to optimize the property portfolio and access the markets in these new technologies. And we wanna relieve the government, from supporting Denel into the future, wherein we are saying with this particular strategy, we are quite confident that with the projections that we have, with the strategy that we have, we can be able to be self-sufficient and not depend on the public purse in terms of the financial support, as the DG has said. So in short, Chair, we want to achieve that market share globally of 15%. We want to achieve that GDP, the GP margins of around 31% in our projects. And also, we still want to support SNDF. We want to maximize the profit and strengthen the balance sheet, as I've alluded to. There are sectors in terms of the market approach that we're looking at, both in defense and non-defense, that we'll be looking at collaborating. So we are saying we have IP, we have capabilities, let's go and exploit outside of the defense in view of the diminishing defense budget. And there are those segments here that we are looking at to say, let's partner with the various sectors, be it CSIR or other sectors that are interested in partnering with us going into the future. So we want to have the model which is very flexible for us to can be able to operate. And as I have said, Chair, we have been vertically integrated as a business, which really caused a burden on us. And we are saying, let's partner with the local industries on a horizontal integration to ensure that the critical components of what we need to deliver are sitting with Denel, and where in the rest of the industry can benefit is more on that horizontal integration. And of course, yes, we want to deliver this project in certainty and quality, and also at a very a good price to the client's chain. So that is the strategy in context of what I just explained in the previous slide. This slide really classifies the sectors, Chair, wherein we want to exploit this IP on the automotive sector, rail sector, maritime, mining, constructions, and so forth. We have been doing some work in mining, but mainly the business is very minimal. But we also want to see what is it that we can do in automotive sector as well. I mean, in South Africa, Chair, we do develop these armored vehicles that are military based. That IP it can be superimposed in some of the automotive sector, if you may. So we do design vehicles, and we do design certain components of these vehicles. And we are saying, let's partner with these sectors privately in order to can be able to sustain ourselves in absence of any of the work within the defense that is coming into the net. So these are some of the sectors, in short, that we want to engage in. So if you look at our roadmap in 10 years, we are saying there is an initial requirement, and that initial requirement, it deals with the certain aspects of restructuring the business and repurposing the company to be able to restart. And of course, yes, even though the DG has not given the numbers in terms of what we are seeking for, there's a whole lot of array of things that we need support on, and that perhaps the DG can allude to. But in the next 5 years, we really want to repurpose the company and stabilize it in such a way that we can develop into the growth markets beyond 5 years. Currently, we are unable to even grow the company exponentially, and purely because of the situation that we find ourselves in. So we are looking at repurposing the business, make it much leaner, focused, and develop these business units in order they can be able to be globally competitive, and then drive that sustainability over the time. There are investigations, Chair, that are ongoing that we thought maybe we need to flag. Those ones, they deal with the shard matter, as you know. So the disciplinary actions has been taken to those employees that have been involved in this particular transaction. We have the VR laser, wherein there was a report that was done by Ngidi initially and later BDO. And then we have since taken actions of those executives that have been involved in the VR laser matter. The year-end 7, Chair, the employees that were current employees, those disciplinary actions have been taken, and summons are being prepared, those former employees that have been involved in this malfeasance. And also there was a investigation done by the Board of Forensic Investigations with regards to the regiment's capital. There was no recovery that was recommended in this particular matter. The Hampa attorneys is still with the Special Investigation Unit. They are dealing with that matter as the interested party in the matter, and also the telespace matter is within SIU. The issue relating to the theft of IP, it is being investigated. The matter is at advanced stage, I believe. There are paperworks which have been completed between SIU and the Hawks in order to complete their exercises that they are doing in this regard. The extensions of loan relating to LMT, Chair, the report has been completed, and we have not implemented the recommendations, Chair, as yet, due to our financial liquidations as we are dealing with the legal matters in here. I think is point number 1, 2, and 3, which is dealing with the ENSA Africa, and also the PwC report on the sourcing of contracting, which is on the fireplate. So those 3, Chair, the reports have been completed, and we are ready to action. However, our financial situation impedes us from actually completing these particular actions as recommended. And we hope that soon we can put the matter into bed and into conclusion. With regards to Barish, the executive has been suspended, and the disciplinary action is ongoing. It should be completed very soon in this regard. And those ones that have left the business, the case is being with the SIU to tackle those people that have left the business and that have been involved in the IP. In the IP malfeasance. So Chair, with regards to the IP, we gave a very intense narrative in terms of where the IP comes from, and that we are the custodians of this particular IP. I won't read the sentences, but we can discuss it during open questions and answers. So this IP is sitting with Denel, with the data packs thereof that have been. These are the designs that have been completed and signed off and qualified, and we are working with AMSCO in terms of auditing some of this. In fact, we have a very good relationship with the DOD per se, where in DOD do come and audit our infrastructure, and we have opened the doors for AMSCO to come and audit this particular database. And Chair, the point to note is that we do report to the authorities where we see any wrongdoing with regards to the IP. And like I said, as you can see with the investigations, that there's a lot of investigations that are going on, and purely because we have acted on those issues. There are particular standards, Chair, that we are compliant with, and these are AMSCO standards, as you can see them. The rules are applicable to the prospective contractors, conditions of contract, and so forth. These are all the standards that we all comply to as Denel in management of the intellectual property between ourselves and AMSCO. So we needed to make that clear, and the management and control of this IP. As you see in there, it requires us to have the resources to manage it, and part of our strategic plan, as we have seen it, that we take seriously the management of the IP, and we are developing strategies.
Chairperson.
Hello, who's that?
It's Mlindi Nana. I'm sorry for interrupting the Group CEO in his presentation. Chair, I do not know whether it only affects me only. The Group CEO gets loud and clear, and at some point he then fades again, and I'm afraid we'll be losing some important information, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, notice that, but let me check with him.
My apologies, Chair.
Yeah, just close to the.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Am I audible enough, Chair?
Yeah. To me.
Where did you lose me, members, so that I can go back and clarify?
Members?
No, it's not a question of having lost you completely. It's only that you would be fading and would. Otherwise, I don't think we've lost the gist of what you were presenting.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you
Anna,
very much.
can you just correct your audio as well and your gadgets, because we are listening to the group CEO and we can hear him very well. So wherever you are, just correct your arrangement.
Okay, sure. Thanks. I will do so.
Thanks, honorable member. Let's continue.
Thank you, Chair. So in this particular slide, we were saying, Chair, as I've alluded to in the previous slides, that we take the management of the IP very seriously. It does require the resources to manage it, because there are levels, certain levels of approvals that you need. So you need people physically to can be able to manage this. And hence in our strategy, we are centralizing this, and we want to ensure that the IP is properly managed, is properly secured, and relevant people or proper people that are supposed to be approving this particular IP, either to dispense the data packs or either to liaise with the customers and the clients, are people that are authorized to do so. So we are taking this very seriously, and hence the note the Chair right at the bottom. So we are not really opposed to auditing, Chair, as it might have been purported before, that we are opposed to it. We are not opposing that. We are open. We are being audited timelessly by AMSCO, by DOD, as and when they require us to do so. However, the issue that we had, Chair, that I have to emphasize in this particular meeting, it was the transfer of this particular IP that it was requested from us in numerous occasions to transfer it to AMSCO for reasons that are known to them but not known to us. And I have since requested that the two DGs and myself come to a table and discuss how do we move forward with these data packs. I had to mention that Chair, there's a difference between auditing and transfer. With regards to auditing, you audit what is there, you had a look at it, you check if it's still there, yes or no, and then you make your own assessment. But a transfer becomes a different thing, and this is something that has come recently in this year, Chair, to transfer these data packs, which is part of the IP that we hold, that we are a custodian of, Chair, as per that separation agreement between us and AMSCO. So here we are just giving those elaborative remarks, Chair, with regards to the agreements that were there and the act that controlled this particular IP between ourselves and them. I don't think I want to go into the detail of the, Chair, wherein we have issues with regards to the IP and the management of the, Chair. We can discuss it with the members. That would be my story, my chairperson and honorable members.
Over to Honorable Matibe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and greetings to honorable members. We'll be going to inputs and discussion from honorable members. I tried to check my list. It has got about 15 members. If we can raise our hands there using the raise hand function, so that I note those hands. I will start on my list with Honorable Chavalala, Honorable Mukause, Honorable Ngwenya, Honorable Michelle, Honorable Mudise, Honorable Kachalia, Honorable Bibi, Honorable Dlamini. We also have Honorable Gumede, who is using a traditional raise your hand function. Yeah, in that
Chairperson?
order, we'll,
Chairperson?
Honorable Arnolds.
Sorry,
Yes.
I can't raise my hand, but can you also include my name there, please?
I'm including you together with Honorable Gumede. You are using traditional raise your hand function.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Chair, Chair, can you also note me?
Yes, Honorable Nana.
Thank you, Chair.
And Honorable Nkosinati Dlamini, you will be the last one. Let's go in that order. If you can see the list is long, let's capture the gist of the questions and inputs and then pass to the following member. Honorable Shabalala, you can start.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and good morning to both chairs of the both PC and the Select Committee, and good morning to honorable members. But also, let me appreciate the presentation presented by the Group CEO, but also to greet DG and the rest of the officials. I'm going to make 3 submissions for the Portfolio Committee before I make my comments. One, I think this joint meeting should proceed, meaning should also take place again, but it should also take place having had invited the PC, the Department of Police, the Defense, and ourselves, primarily for a reason being that it needs to address those matters around why the 2 departments are not supporting, if not procuring from Denel. And if they are, and it is Denel that is not able to deliver on those that would have been procured, but we need to understand the issues. But moreover, also speak to issues of defense in our country and hear from their side. If you were in the debate of the National Assembly yesterday, the new Minister of Defense did speak about issues of Denel and how important Denel is. And the department did mention here that they've not reached a decision where they're letting go of Denel, of which from my side, we support that. Second part is that we also in that meeting, we need to call the SIU. I would have moved to say we need an investigation to take place, primarily on the issue of the intellectual property that has been stolen. But the Group CEO reported that SIU has undertaken some work around that field, but also issues of corruption. So I feel that we need to invite SIU and understand where are they insofar as this matter is concerned. So those are my submission to the portfolio committees. Now let me come to the questions. Denel requires financial assistance for its recovery. It's no-brainer. And government support, it's required to cover its liability, which is the legal responsibility of the shareholder. Funding is also required for its working capital and operational costs to ensure that it is able to implement the turnaround strategy. The decline in the defense budget is creating security risk for the country, given the current events in Mozambique, and we would have seen that. The recent unrest in the country of looting, honorable members, has also shown the consequences of these budget cuts. And what is worrying from my side is that Denel is showing a loss of equity of 3.6 billion. I want an explanation of this, if they can explain this. And what has resulted in the loss of revenue at Denel, if that can be explained. The turnover is a third of what the budget was for. Why did the company not realize its budget turnover? What should give us comfort that the restructuring members will have the management which will be able to fulfill contracts and attain revenue targets? Now, the company owes 1.5 billion to staff and suppliers, which have to come from the shareholder as part of clearing its liabilities. If this clearing of immediate liabilities does not occur, suppliers and staff, which are the 2 key ingredients for restructuring, will not supply Denel or work for it. Why is this very important? it is the two critical components for restructuring. This also means that the company is technically insolvent and restructuring might not work in this instance. Therefore, the need for cash injection from where I'm seated, from the shareholder and for the company to also focus to its core competence and restructure and reduce non-core costs. So I support the issue that they need cash injection. Now on slide 13, and I'm using the presentation that we would have received on Monday, it demonstrates the further need for shareholder finance for Denel. The slides on human capital also shows that the company is a tight ship and cannot trim its skilled workforce, and any further for restructuring. Now, slide 18, the problem with me, Group CEO, that is this slide is that it is dependent on the SNDF and does not factor other security agencies for government as part of its sales drive. And I think it's something that you need to highlight. And slide 19 makes absolute sense in terms of restructuring, but this needs to be meshed with the revenue streams from those businesses it seeks to retain. Group CEO, it must be clear as well. Slide 22. There is no problem with the repurposed Denel, and it is very clear and focused strategy. The new operating model can only work if the shareholder plows capital into the company to ensure its liquidity and ensure that it is a going concern. So the slides on diversification and currently not relevant to the restructuring and ensuring that Denel is a going concern. However, it is critical slides for the economic reconstruction and recovery plan for local industrialization. This is a very critical, therefore we need to get past the hurdle of going concern first. Now, the roadmap to sustainability is also dependent on the government financing Denel to normalize its balance sheet. So the critical issue to be thought through is how do we package the government financial support for Denel? That's one, but also crossing this hurdle with a good board and management means that we can access further local technological value for local industrialization. And this is the key driver for the support of Denel. So I support this restructuring plan. And if not, honorable members can accept this business plan proposal that is being developed here on. The last point, Comrade Matibe, Honorable Matibe, is that we need to also in that meeting that I would have proposed to also get the SOE Council, if not the chairperson of that, for us, if not our own Department of Public Enterprise, because we know that it's them that is giving a secretarial support to the SOC's Council, the Presidential SOE Council, so that we can understand what are the pronouncements that they're making or things that they're depositing to the cabinet, so that we understand where they are they, because there are other platforms that these matters are really being mentioned. But from where I am, really we need to support Denel. We need to get that financial injection. However, we need to close all these loopholes around finances, corruptions, those matters that we've been speaking upon. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. I believe it's me following.
Yeah, it's you, Honorable Mkausi.
The lack of leadership and the will to save Denel in the top leadership, it's extremely worrisome. We're speaking here of a very important state-owned entity, yet there's no will to save it. Defense depends on the functionality of Denel, yet we see a weaker side of Denel. And at this era, Chairperson, honestly, we can't be told of state capture. State capture happened right in the hands of the ANC administration. And it was up to the leadership of Denel to detect some of the problems at that stage and deal with it and save the entity. Chair, when you are in a path of, when they say they're in a path of resolving the SARS issues, the tax clearances, they are not clear as to what are they doing. Can they tell us? Are they paying SARS? Are they avoiding to pay SARS? Or what steps are they taking, Chairperson? If I may ask, is the Group CO getting paid on a monthly basis, Chairperson? If it's getting paid, how does it feel when the lower level grades of the employees are not getting paid whilst the top management are pocketing salaries on a monthly basis? And so far, how far are they in terms of covering the 100% payments of salaries of workers in Denel? He's also spoke about the reduction of the workforce. We are saying this is a very important and strategic state-owned entity. How did it affect so far Denel in its functionality? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I think it's me.
Yeah, you are following.
Chair, I'll ask to close my video because of the network. Thank you. Good morning, Chairperson, and to both Chairperson and the honorable members, and on the department. Thanks for the presentation. First and foremost, let me take this opportunity, Chairperson, to appreciate Denel for complying with our committee recommendation, which we made in February this year, 2021, when the select committee met with Denel, wherein among others, we recommended that Denel should appear before our committee again to brief us on progress regarding implementation of the turnaround strategy and the financial challenges. I believe this meeting takes place as a result of that recommendation, Chairperson. Honorable Chair, having listened to the presentation, I would like to ask the following question. On slide 11, on the presentation on the last bullet, the presenter mentioned that the business continued to lose skills and operation activity is at the low level. The question, Chair, is which business are mostly affected by the staff turnover? Can we get the report in this regard? On the same note, do you have any plans in place to avoid any further staff turnover, which may occur in the near future? And if yes, what are your plans to address that? And if it's no, why not? The second question, Chairperson, I want you to extend, have you managed to implement all the in terms of your turnaround plans of 2019? Which are those you managed to achieve? Does your turnaround strategy address SMMES and how it is contributing towards localization? The third question, Chair, a number of Denel properties are classified as national key point. Is Denel engaged with the Department of Defense to see them lent to the Department of Defense? Are you also considering relocation business that are not within national key point in order to sell those properties? What is the nature of Denel legal representation? Given the legal challenges, in fact, is that legal team in the employee of Denel, or is it being outsourced? And does Denel have enough capital to compensate the legal term, given the current financial situation in the entity currently faces. The last question, Chair. I wanted to check that is it there a last feedback from Treasury in terms of the governance financial support to entity or in terms of bailout from the state? What is the current state? I thank you, Chair. Thanks very much. Chairperson Matibe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ngwenya. Honorable Michelle.
Thank you, Chairperson. You know, the script of Denel is like a deja vu script, you know, 7.1 billion Rand loss between 2017 and 2020, 2.8 billion Rand government bailouts, 6 permanent CEOs, 3 acting CEOs, appointment of compromised individuals on the board influenced by Gupta families, and so it carries on. So my question is, what my following questions are: what is the reason why the budget in terms of defense in South Africa has declined drastically, where the rest of the world there's been a significant increase? Can we have an explanation in terms of the decline of revenue and decline of export? 12,500 employees currently are the status on the structure. Is that the status quo at the moment? The salary issue around the employees of Denel, can we please be told which employees have still got outstanding payments to them? Has senior employees been paid? Has the members of the board been paid? Can we have that clarification? Then has Denel got the capacity to implement a 5-year recovery plan, and what amount is needed when they speak about a significant cash injection? And what bailouts would Denel need in order to succeed? We don't know this. What would be any different in this new 5-year business plan to the current status? Denel would have to also please present to the committee a consequence management plan so that we can understand that Denel would not fall into the same situation they are in at the moment. Denel stated with regards to strategy, regulatory aspects, consultations with relevant stake players is underway. Were these stakeholders consulted on the new 5-year model of Denel, and what were their inputs? What would the size of their staff complement look like, and will they be able to afford the staff complement in terms of salaries? How would Denel plan to secure their critical skills needed, and how will Denel attract such shortcomings within their skills? How will Denel deal with running the risk of losing critical IPs to competitors, and which will impede the ability to produce or maintain critical products? How will Denel deal with PMP not being tax compliant, which is a huge risk at this stage? PMP is not able to supply SAPS or any government sector with ammunition or small arms at this stage because it is in contravention with the PFMA. What international offers were received in terms of PMP, and what was the DPE's response in relation to these offers? Can Denel confirm if they've had offers on business units? Have these offers been considered, and what is the progress thereof? Or have these offers been declined, and why was that? What is the DPE's view on selling ownership in sovereign and strategic assets, but executing control over those assets through the NCACC regulatory framework? Has there been any strategic offers in terms of equity partners? And has the DPE and Denel investigated the regulatory protocols around these offers? What international interests has there been in order to purchase PMP? Who are they, and would Denel consider such purchase? We would also like to get the presentation, the report from Scopa, because apparently Denel appeared in front of Scopa yesterday. It will be good to see what report Scopa has put in place in terms of yesterday. Also, how many criminal cases in terms of fraud and corruption are still outstanding? And I'm sure Member Shabalala did ask for the report of the SIU, and I'm sure that would also assist us to understand the size of the fraud and corruption and what value is linked to those cases. Considering the current financial status of Denel, would it not be the best solution to put Denel under business rescue? And I'm really referring to the legal aspects that are outstanding at this stage against Denel, and that really compromises Denel in a far greater way as well. What is the status of the warrants of execution against Denel in terms of Landcorp and Dynamics? What is the status of the sale of non-core assets, and what will be raised financially during this process? And how would those funds benefit the restructuring of Denel? If you could also just tell us what are the current orders outstanding with PMP on their order book? Would Denel be in the position to table a current annual report and financial statements to Parliament going forward? What was the rationale of entering into contracts with Venezuela, DRC, and Chad, and what consequences has materialized from these erroneous contracts? Could we also request a presentation in terms of the Hoefyster project to the committee as well? That would be very interesting to see. Then Denel said in the presentation, they say overdue creditors have been reduced by 80%. What is the current financial status quo regarding these outstanding amounts that still need to be paid? And then how far are the negotiations with SAAB Grintech regarding its application to the High Court in order to liquidate Denel? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Modise. I think the group CEO is capturing those questions. Yeah.
Thank you very
Modise.
much, Chairperson. Let me greet also the chairpersons, both you, the chairpersons, and the honorable members, and the Denel entity DG, and also DG from department. Chairperson, Denel is very important entity to our country. But when you look at the situation that it is now, you can ask yourself a lot of questions. But let me ask my question. Chairperson, I just want to check with Denel, do they have put the systems in place to make sure that in future the entity must not find itself in the status that they are in today? What did they make sure that each and every employee that they employ is not going to make sure that Denel collapse? The second question is, in their presentation, they spoke about the capital. How much capital does Denel need overall to successfully turn the company around and return it to profitability? Those are my two questions, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable De Bruin, followed by Honorable Gumede, followed by Honorable Arnolds, followed by Honorable Nana, in that order.
Thank you, Chair. Well, Chairs, I would just like to know, it was stated now again, the 636 million owed to the employees. and I'm sure we have all seen the media this morning regarding to the suspended managers that still receive salaries. I would just like to ask, is this the case? And if it is so, how will this be dealt with? As I can't see that Denel can expect government or anyone else to have faith in any new plan, if this is the type of conduct from Denel, to pay suspended managers that made themselves guilty of corruption instead of rather paying their employees. Thank you.
Chair. Hello, Chair.
Yes, we can hear you. You can continue, Honorable Member.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings to the colleagues as well as the officials present. Chair, I want to just preamble my perhaps contribution by what Honorable Shabalala has commented, that we were very much grateful yesterday to hear the positive contribution by the newly appointed Minister, Minister Modise, for having shown support to Denel. And in fact, her commitment to assist Denel in its survival. That's very critical. The meeting then that Denel is looking forward to, not DPE rather, the ministerial meeting could be a positive one. At least there is a sign that indicates that Denel may in fact get somewhere. But Chair, I must say that my analysis are telling me that there are 4 critical elements in the survival perhaps of Denel in terms of restructuring. One, many others have commented on the business plan, which is very critical. In fact, it informs even the roadmap. We need to know, and what's good about it, it quantifies as well, as many others have asked questions, how much Denel needs in order to be the position to wake up and walk. I know currently that we may be expecting a person with no limbs to walk, let alone running a race. We also need to have the right board with capacity, and members must as well be credible. That's very, very much critical. And management with proper administration. Then what the DPE needs to do is to provide a proper oversight to all this. This is key for survival of the entity. Let me say, we will keep on flagging some of these issues, factors, matters that are very thorny to the department or perhaps the board members. My understanding that I have, Denel in fact should be in a position that in its plan, it must be in a position to explain as to how are they going to address the challenges that they are faced. If there is any person, it could be an equity partner, it could be government, out of the challenges that they are facing, anyone will be interested to know how are you going to address this? I'm talking about, let's say, for instance, it's a situation where revenue has kind of been plummeted from 8.2 to 2.4 billion. That is 1920. Who knows? The 2.4 could have declined further. So those are the kind of situation we are trying to do. And some of the hopes, I had this question as well as been asked. Some of the hopes that when we are dealing with the non-core sales, we were hoping to get 1.5, which is spread over 5 years. No one is sure whether the stock, the assets, will in fact be saleable. I've got an understanding that some of these assets may as well be very much obsolete in a sense. Chair, how does Denel see itself perhaps overcoming some of the hindrances that could cripple the entity going forward? It could either be in a form, we wouldn't like to see a repetition of a state capture. We talk losses here. We talk as well the decline in the revenue. What could have caused all these pitfalls? If Denel can be in a position to explain to us that we fell into these challenges because of 1, 2, 3, that will be, I think, a good explanation for us. I think I've covered this one that says Denel should be in a position to explain in their plan how they are going to deal with the challenges faced. Of serious concern to us, Chair, I must say the IP is very important. I think we wouldn't like to compete unfairly with other competitors. We would like to have a situation where we know this is our property and we are dealing with our property rather than others beat us in our own circle, rather than we beat them with our own ammunition. Chair, let me wait there and allow others then to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable members, those who are coming in, Honorable Arnolds, Honorable Nana, if you are able, can you switch on your videos because we are live on TV. We need to see your video. Only if your bandwidth is giving you challenges, we can then a bit compromise. Honorable Arnolds, yeah, it's your time.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to all the honorable members, and then also greetings to the delegation of the Denel, and then also officials that is present. Chairperson, my first question is when I know that Denel is not the first time that they have appeared before the committee, but I want to ask the DG if they can maybe give us an update on the investigations into the explosion at Rheinmetall munition in Somerset West, in the Western Cape, where 8 workers was killed in an explosion. We need to get an update, and I know the last time I've also asked that we received the report in terms of it's now been 3 years because the explosion happened in 20.
Honorable Arnolds, you are muted.
Chairperson, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Thank you, Chairperson. I was saying that the explosion in Somerset West in the Western Cape happens 3 years ago. And we are still awaiting those families We are still awaiting the outcome of that investigation. So if the department can give us an update. Then, Chairperson, we must recover all the stolen money. All the monies that was, in terms of the wrongdoings, we must recover all those monies. In the report, there was an update in terms of the ongoing investigations, the forensic investigations. But, Chairperson, it can't be that we are sitting now and there's only summons going out. It's ongoing, says the report, and letters of demands were sent. But we must conclude these matters, Chairperson, because the country, the people in South Africa, especially those that are waiting for resources, we must get all these resources back. And in terms of those also employees that were found and implicated in wrongdoing. Then, Chairperson, the roadmap that was presented by Denel in terms of the roadmap to sustainability. Can they give us ensure the committee? Can they give us that insurance that the current turnaround strategy and the roadmap will not take us backwards, and that they are sure that this roadmap and the turnaround strategy will have the 100% capacity to deliver. Then, Chairperson, in terms of the board, which we all know that is there to provide leadership and strategic oversight and oversees the internal control environment. We haven't seen a lot from the board, so we want to know, is the board still stable? So that is also part of the stability of the entity. That is my questions for now, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Nana.
Chairman, thanks very much, Chairperson. Greetings to everyone. Firstly, may I apologize. I won't be able to switch on my video due to my connectivity issues. I promise you, Chair, I'm not in my pajamas. Can you hear me, Chair?
We can hear you with your pajama. You can continue.
So, firstly, Chair, I would really like to second and agree with Honorable Arnolds that all stolen money should be returned, and that must include VBS money. Chair, colleagues have really touched the difficulty or the disadvantage of being last to speak or ask questions is that colleagues do touch on some of these issues, and I wouldn't really like to belabor some of them. But a few things that have, one or two things that I would want to latch on and speak about. The group CEO in his presentation, I may have not heard him properly, but correctly, I may have not captured him correctly. If I captured him incorrectly, he will advise accordingly. I thought he said, I heard him say, Denel is now shifting focus, exiting non-core businesses. Denel is now going to focus, and this is where I may have captured him incorrectly. Denel is now shifting focus or making more emphasis in design rather than manufacturing. Now, if I heard him correctly, I'm not an expert in arms manufacturing designs and all of that and all of those. But the little knowledge I have about business, if you are to run a successful and profitable business, surely if you are if you have a capability to design and also manufacture your design on your own, surely that adds value to your business, and it can actually bring in more money. Now, if I had captured the group CEO correctly, how does Denel see themselves being a profitable state-owned entity if they are basically throwing away a key important component, which is manufacturing, that was going to make them money? That's the first question. The second question, Chair, is on the disposal of the non-core assets and non-core business. And colleagues that did speak about it, including Honorable Gumede. But really my interest is how are they, I know they will be disposing non-core business, in the words of the group CEO, by selling some of this. Will this be an open process wherein everybody who has got an interest in this, in the field, in those businesses, will those people be given equal opportunities to bid? I'm raising this, Chairperson, because me and you know that whenever this kind of disposal of government companies crop up, the same old connected elite of the ANC is always first in line. So I want to check if this will be open and transparent. And I can't really belabor the issue about the IP. Colleagues have really spoken about it at length. And the last one is Denel exiting Rheinmetall with their 49% that they previously owned in that company. Now my question is, you will recall, Chair, in the past I have raised the issue of Rheinmetall and the Hoefyster project. Seeing that Denel is now exiting Rheinmetall, what are the risks that come with that exit insofar as the Hoefyster project is concerned? Thank you very much, Chair. Sorry for being a bit too long. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nana. Honorable BB, and then followed by Honorable Kachalia. Those that have already spoken, they can lower their hands so that I'm able to capture those that are still to speak.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Greetings to the two chairs, honorable members, officials, and the DG. Honorable Chairperson, I've got only two questions. The first one, although some part of it has been covered, considering the financial difficulties Denel finds herself in, and the fact that some of these difficulties are due to maladministration and also financial mismanagement. Now, my question, Chairperson, is how much money the entity has so far recovered, and how much in total is recovered? My second question, Chairperson, I know Honorable Winnie Ngwenya has touched on regarding skills. With the skills and capabilities that are at your disposal. Now, have you considered diversifying your business to include consumer goods such as your cell phones, high-tech devices, such as GPS, trackers and CCTV's cameras. I would like to know about that, Chairperson, and also, etc., some of the consumers goods that one should include. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kachalia.
Thank you, Chair. Can I begin by just commenting on the DG's statement about bailouts, which opened the meeting. Bailouts, in my view, are monies from the public purse that in effect is the provision of good money to bad or no effect. As such, Denel and many SOEs, I must say, are exemplary case studies in the continually failing series of bailouts. But let's just put that on record. It's germane to what I want to say. My colleague has dealt, Honorable Michelle Clark has dealt with a plethora of micro issues that require answers and attention. Allow me to deal with some of the higher level issues, because in the context of SOEs in general and Denel in particular, this is absolutely crucial. Now, you know, on the 28th of May 2020, the same CFO presented to the committee. A year before that, in 2019, Denel issued a statement saying Denel implements critical steps to grow business and to retain and to return to sustainability. What it's going to do is going to maximize the value of core business areas, deliver on strategic partnerships, exit non-core business areas, combat fraud, corruption and wastage, drive cost reduction, secure funding and high-level support from the shareholder, grow the order book, ensure retention of core skills, and restore Denel's reputation to improve morale. On every single one of that, it has failed miserably for years. And we are being presented with another set of high-level endeavors and plans, which I will write in blood, will fail again. What we have here, the CFO presented to the PPC, as I said, and the chair at the time said, the fundamental challenge is the liquidity of Denel, which needs to be addressed. That liquidity has since gone from bad to worse. And we are being told now that we need to pump more money into this. This is folly. This is madness. We cannot do this. We have a responsibility to our citizens, to the proper use of the public purse. The company is insolvent. Let's not use words like technically or effectively. The company is insolvent. It is bankrupt. And it cannot meet its obligations. How can it pay salaries? How can it even pay for this new restructuring and repurposing? It can't do so. It needs to take money from the public purse and to put it in this company like it has done and said in 2019 it was going to do, and has got us to a worse place. You know, it has no missile capacity. It has lost key staff. I'm talking about proper key engineering staff. It has lost key IP. It has lost key contracts. It has, aviation systems are dead. There's no money for parts. I could go on. The question is, without pouring more money into this madness, what is to be done? Now, in terms of, you know, the fact is we've lost our competitive edge here, and it's not going to return by the separation of engineering capacity from maintenance capacity and maintaining and manufacturing and establishing a commercial business unit, which amongst other things is now going to enter into the area of non-core areas while it's getting rid of non-core assets. I mean, the contradiction is startling. But even if it does all this, at what cost and at what projected return? That is what business people ask, but nobody seems to be addressing those answers here. Denel owes historically its existence to an arms embargo in the apartheid era. A monopoly was created. It is a public company doing business as a private entity. And despite that monopoly, and because of a host of other factors, it is now bankrupt. The public involvement of the state that previously, and I'm not lauding that ridiculous government, resulted in some stellar market performance, has now resulted in market failure because of mismanagement, malfeasance, state capture, and cost addition. Now, in face of this market failure, what are we going to do? The penny has seemed to drop in terms of public enterprises and in terms of what needs to be done, because this is across the board. So there are moves in Transnet, you will see. There are moves in Eskom, you will see. And there should be moves in other entities like this one to involve the private sector, because the public sector has failed. Now you have to look to the private sector, and the private sector will come in on its terms, not necessarily on your terms. But let's negotiate that. That's important. Now, in terms of that, what efforts have been made to involve the private sector here? And in parallel, ensure that the sovereign interests of the state, strategic sovereign interests, are protected. How are they going to be protected? Who are we going to entice to come in? On what terms? And how is this going to be affected? To obviate the bailouts which affect our country. Now, what efforts are going to be made to streamline the duplication with Arms Corps? There is a golden opportunity here to apply one's mind to this in a very real way. And can we please have a detailed declaration of what monies and how much is being sought, how it will be employed, what the revenue is projected against the deployment of these funds, and what payback, if any, is envisaged? How is this possible? And in this envisaged new structure, I'd like to understand. Consideration must also be given to business rescue and potential liquidation and/or privatization options. This is the stark reality facing us, and we cannot live in cloud cuckoo land anymore. Can we please address these issues, both at a micro level, but also at the high level, which I have indicated? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kachalia. The last person on my list is Honorable Nkosinathi Dlamini. But before he comes in, can I check if there is any other member I might have left out who wants to contribute? Yeah, it seems that will be the only member. Honorable Dlamini.
Oh, thanks, Chair. The one thing I pick up from the presentation is that we are where we are in terms of the lost IPs because of a strategic partner. Yet the turnaround strategy is still largely based on the strategic partner. What sort of lessons have we learned from the previous experience, and what measures are there to sort of buffer us from history repeating itself? That's the one question. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dlamini. I'm handing over back to DG. together with the group CEO to look into the questions asked by honorable members. DG.
Thank you, Chair. If we can ask that the CEO goes first in responding to the questions, and will come in where there were specific questions directed at the department. The CEO.
Thank you very much, DG. Firstly, I'll have to put a disclaimer, Chairperson. I know there's been a plethora of questions. I've tried to capture them. I'll summarize them where I can summarize, but where I have missed some of the questions, my apologies. It is not done on purpose, as was listening and scribing at the same time. So let me start with the Honorable Shabalala with regards to the revenue losses on what resulted in these revenue losses. Like I said in the beginning, normally in Denel, when we start the financial year, because we have these multi-year contracts that needs to be sort of renewed, 60% of our revenue comes from AMSCO. So before we start any new work in any financial year, you need what we say the financial authority to can be able to proceed, working and invoicing. However, this has come late from our sister company, almost by more than 2 months, and it has resulted in some of the revenue losses, but not all of it, because some of it will have been wherein we don't have enough resources to can be able to resume work in some instances. So with regards to the sales and so this deals with the sales. In fact, that we couldn't realize the sales as projected. Regarding the non-core assets, the 1.5 billion that we envisage to get out of the sale of these so-called non-core or non-profitable assets. I think we use the term non-core and non-profitable just to classify these entities. Yes, we are looking at that period of over 5 years. You will know that this takes time at times to can be able to conclude. There are processes that we need to follow, both from the PFMA perspective and also from the governance internally within Denel. And yes, on our sustainability roadmap, we envisage that this will assist us to can be able to stabilize the business going forward. With regards to diversification, you will know that the 2 divisions that have been set up, I did allude to the fact that on the right-hand side, wherein you see maintenance and manufacturing, yes, that is a core business that we want to secure. We are not getting out of it. I know that has been commenced to say we are leaving that type of business. We are not leaving that business. We are securing that business, and we want to make sure that it is sustainable. However, we are saying, let's look at other ways of securing business out of non-defense. And it is for that reason that we say the skill sets that we have, the capabilities that we have, wherein we are not using them at a particular point in time to execute some of the projects, will look into this non-defense market. Be it is in the ventilator, be it it's thermal screens and so forth. Those are some of the things that we are looking at. And I did allude to the fact that we are looking at the automotive sector as well on various aspects of the business. So yes, we want to remove ourselves from the reliance in the defense sector in terms of sustainability. There was a question from Honorable Mawatu with regards to the SARS issue. The SARS issue has been dealt with, as I've alluded to. The time that we make the presentation, we're still dealing with the SARS issue. The SARS did come back to us and they put the conditions to clear or to give us the certificates by the end of the month, when we pay what is then due as the pay-as-you and VAT and we will be paying that at the end of the month so that we are receiving this certificate. The issues of salaries, Chair, they differ, as you know, that corporate office does not generate any cash. We do, however, ask the operations to contribute a certain margins of their profits into the corporate office for us to can be able to deal with the corporate matters. And these corporate matters, they deal with all of these issues that we see are litigation and so forth. So it is really administrative, so to say. So where I'm sitting, Chair, I don't get full pay. Wherein we are paying 20% and we decided to pay 20%, I do get a 20%. Wherein we are paying 30%, I do get 20%. So I'm not getting full salary, and I'm still dedicated, Chair, to ensure that we take this business forward, regardless of that situation. With regards to the solidarity matter, we have managed to pay, I think, 80% to 90% of what was owed last year between May and July on both salaries. We're talking about salaries in pension fund and the medical aid. There is, however, one division that has been struggling, which is the Denel Dynamics, in that we have not managed to pay everything that was owed for that period. And due to the fact of their situation, because they are incapacitated, as Honorable Kashali has said, that we have lost a lot of skills in that regard. So the loss of skills in detail, and it is for this reason, Chair, that we have decided to merge some of these capabilities, or a lot of these capabilities that we have, in that we have lost a lot of capabilities, and if we were to continue in the same manner, will never be sustainable, because divisions will have operated in a silo mentality as they did before, and then we are now saying, let's share these resources in order to be able to deliver on the projects. And so this is some of the interventions that we are taking. So that model really talks to that, to say a division cannot have a resource that is being utilized for 20%, and the 80% that resource is not utilized, but then the other division cannot. So this business unit is going to the future because they will work as business units. They'll buy these hours from engineering, and therefore these people will be kept busy doing other non-engineering work. So there was a question by Honorable Gwenya with regards to the implementation of the 29 strategy. Yes, in my first slide, Chair, I did deposit the 2019 strategy, and in the red, Chair, we have demonstrated the exit of the space tech, the exit of the aerostructures, and a whole lot of other strategic actions that have been sort of approved at the time. And those have been done. The space tech has been done. We have done Section 54. We just need to conclude that portion. The aerostructures, yes, we are busy finalizing the winding down of aerostructures because we have exited the people in the aerostructures and others. So the ones that are there to be reviewed, which is MECHEM and gear ratio, it was for the purpose that we needed to ascertain that those are still viable or not viable, and we have ascertained that they are not viable and they won't be viable in the near future. We have to pump money into them so that they can operate, of which we don't have that money. So the best thing is to exit those. So hence my operating model that I depicted in there. With regards to the DOD and relocation on some of the assets, we have not engaged DOD in relocating any of the assets at the moment. We are saying we are able to restructure ourselves in a manner in which we can still give that support. But if it is the relocation of Denel as a whole, I think that is a shareholder matter that I won't be able to answer at my level, Chair. So there was a question again from Honorable Gwenya with regards to the legal representative, that are we outsourcing, are we not outsourcing? Yes, we have one legal resource that is working at corporate office, and then one that is working at one of the divisions. So we use these legal resources. However, wherein we are incapacitated, we do make means with our panel, make use of our panel. In that panel, we have the ENS of Africa and so forth. And Bowmans, they're all in the panel to can be able to give us an assistance of matters of critical importance. to the business, and we do reach out to them. And yes, we do owe them. I have to stress out that we are not only paying these people, and we are not paying salaries. We do owe them quite a lot of money, which is part of the working capital that we need. There was an array of questions from Honorable Clark. My apologies, Chair. I have to go through these questions in detail. So the reason for the decline in terms of the defense acquisition, Chair, I cannot really answer this at this level. The DoD has their own strategy in terms of acquisitions. The scrapping of the special defense account, it was between DoD and National Treasury in this regard. However, that affected us a lot in terms of our revenue streams. So in the sector, yes, we have 12,500 Honorable Clark. That 12,500 is in the sector, not in Denel. In Denel, we have 2,400 employees. The way, yes, there are employees that are being suspended, as in these questions is repetitive. These people are suspended of full pay. We are compliant with the Labor Relations Act, and our policies is internally in terms of dealing with these matters. And henceforth that some of these people are suspended, even though they are getting paid, so that we can be able to, at some point, finalize the matters. Remember, even when they are suspended, they're still the employees. They still are contracted until that contract is disposed of, and therefore they are eligible to still get paid unless otherwise stated. So in terms of the capacity, Honorable Clark, we are incapacitated, yes, but we are capacitated to can be able to implement the strategy. And most of the things that we have seen in the strategy, they are being done in-house by us as Denel with our own capacity. So even the implementation, the roadmap to implementation, the resources needed to implement and so forth, some of them will tap in from internal. However, yes, we do require there and there some assistance externally, and we'll sort that to can be able to implement. Now, the issues of consequence management happens across the business, and not only that we see that is happening at the executive level or the senior level, it does happen at the business-wide, although that we have not reported on those, we only reported of what was applicable to the investigations that you see, and hence we reported on those particular executives. But consequence management happens across the business. So the question of IP and securing of IP, I did allude to the fact that, Chair, we are putting the measures, and part of those measures are making sure that this IP sits within a centralized ERP system where it can be properly managed.
Sorry, Group CEO, can General Matanzima mute the mic? Can General Matanzima mute the mic? Yeah, you can continue.
So that strategy, Chair, it is part of the measures that we're putting in place as a business to ensure that we do secure the IP, and it is properly managed, as I alluded to in my presentation rundown, Chair. We are employing a governance sort of a framework. That governance framework deals with how we execute programs, how we do contract management, and so forth. So this is a part of the mechanism that we have put in place as we speak to ensure that when we implement the strategy, some of these things are in place. With regards to the tax clearance for PNP, it is a division. Tax clearances are given at the SOC level, and as I alluded to, we have dealt with the issue, and we will be paying SARS, and those tax certificates will be issued across all the divisions within Denel. So the issues of DPE will answer on those. The issues relating to criminal cases, Chair, as I've alluded to in my presentations on the investigations that I'm sure when we sit with SIU, they'll be able to give the details of where they are and what is it that is envisaged to be brought out of those investigations in terms of the value, Chair. A criminal matter is a criminal matter that sits outside of our jurisdiction because it is being dealt with by the Hawks and the SIU as we speak, Chair. So the details or the final details are sitting with the SIU, and I concur with Honorable Shabalala that they need to be brought in so that you are briefed properly on where we are with those investigations, and I'm sure we'll be able to get some clarity. So the other issues, I think, with the BR and so forth, the DG will answer on this. So the rationale in terms of getting into the contracts with SAT and the DRC and so forth, these are all the legacy contracts, Chair, as a result of the state capture at the time that we are now sitting with this burden that we have to deal with. In as much as we say there was no state capture, there was a state capture. And then the remnants of it is that we are sitting with all of these deaths as a result of what has happened in both Venezuela, Chad, and DRC, and the others. And therefore, we are dealing with those matters and see if we can reinvest some of these countries into contracts that have not been finalized. So with regards to the sub-litigation, I did mention, allude to the fact that we are reviewing the orders to indicate that we owe them a certain money. We needed to do some verification because at the time that the litigation happened, we were not privy to the process that would have been followed behind the scenes by those executives. So therefore, we needed to verify that particular claim. And the two teams from SAP and Denel are working together to verify the claim, and in order for us to be able to reach a settlement. So there was a question again with regards to the employees. I think I have answered this. So Honorable Kumere made a comment about the obsolete equipment, or not equipment, but assets that are being sold. I did make mention of the three, and that's where we have a shareholding, which is Rheinmetall, Barrage Dynamics, and Hensoldt, that we think we can get good value out of them. However, physical assets like your Mayhem as well as the gear ratio, we are busy doing evaluation. So doing evaluation in terms of the value of those assets in order for us to be able to reach a conclusion as to whether is it feasible to sell or not to sell, or is it they could be resuscitated one or the other. So that process is ongoing. We have appointed transactional advisors to look into doing valuation of those assets. So with regards to the pitfalls, Honorable Gumede, and yes, there are issues relating to employee that have either resigned or left the company to other companies that we need to resolve. And it is some of the hurdles that we need to cross, whether we're going to really in-source these people. Are we not going to execute some of those projects that are related to those employees that have left? And in the main, they're in the missile business, as Honorable Kashalia has said. They are in the missile business, but the rest of the business we are still okay. We're still okay in the aerostructure, in aeronautics. We're still okay in PNP, and we're still okay in the land system. So we are able to deliver still on our mandate, except the fact that we have that hindrance in terms of the missile portfolio. So these are some of the hindrances that we are facing that we still have to cross. And of course, yes, the issues of governance, as I've alluded to, that we are implementing the governance framework in order to get better governance. The how we deliver on this, the how we contract going forward. Because the past has taught us that most of the contract that we have entered to or into with the clients will have been erroneous contract. It's more so that we have not had legal minds that understand contracts. So our governance structure set to ensure that we have all of these resources to can be able to overcome some of the pitfalls that we had previously. So we are doing our best to address, and we have taken note of those things, and we have gone to businesses to ensure that we understand those issues that are at hand. In terms of the capacity, yes, we still have capacity. It's not 100% to deliver everything. When we need to insource. A part of the strategy is that, as I said, we were vertically integrated, and therefore horizontal integration allows that flexibility to be able to insource some of the resources that we do not have in the system to be able to deliver on some of these critical components that we do design and manufacture in the business. So Honorable Nana, your interpretation was clearly incorrect. That we are getting rid of the manufacturing business. Manufacturing remains a core of our business, and the intention is not to move away. The engineering is set to give us some more freedom in terms of the diversification strategy that we are pursuing going into the future. There was another question relating to RDM. Yes, we are exiting RDM. We have taken the decision with the shareholder to exit RDM, and that process is ongoing. Honorable Pepe, there was a question relating to maladministration and financial mismanagement. With regards to the ones wherein we had claims, the issues of the bursary, yes, there was a refund that has been made, and I'm sure SIU will disclose a particular amount because they have entered into an agreement with the other students in terms of that particular claim. And other claims, really, they are criminal claims that some of them will be pursued for the value that will be identified by the investigation as it moves on. There was a statement in terms of the losing competitive edge by Honorable Kacharia. Not in all that we have lost our competitive edge, and I have to reassure the honorable members that even today we are still getting the clients knocking on our door and seeking our products and services in as much as we are in the situation that we are in. And a lot of them have assisted us, for that matter, in order for us to be able to remain liquid, wherein we could not buy space and all of that. They have assisted, and purely because they believe in our products. So in as much as we might have lost the competitive edge in dynamics, it does not necessarily mean that Denel as a whole has lost that competitive edge. And the fact that we have lost employees does not mean that we have lost everything, because we still got the infrastructure, we still got the IP, and it is our belief that in a new strategy, we'll be able to develop some young engineers and look into the technology of the future. I spoke about migrating from fourth industrial revolution to fifth industrial revolution. So we will employ these young people. Denel will grow to become a different Denel going into the future. And so the last one, a chair from Honorable Damien with regards to the loss of IP and the strategy with regards to the SEP. Yes, if you look at the operating model, the initial operating model, and I think I've shown the green and the yellow picture in the middle to say the initial strategy was really to seek SEPs into those capabilities. And I mentioned infantry system and GBETs and so forth. The focus here in this particular 5 years in 10 years is that let's restore the capabilities. Let's try and rebuild Denel and not really rush to SEPs, because with SEP, we have realized that we will be susceptible in losing that IP. And yes, you are right. We have to guard this IP with everything that we have. And henceforth, we are saying, let's put measures in place. Let's try as far as possible and put the infrastructure in place to be able to better manage the IP. And once we have matured as a business, we can then say, whom can we do business with? And when we do business with them, how are we going to do business with them, and how are we still going to protect that IP going forward? So these are some of the mechanisms and the lessons learned from what has transpired over the period of time, that there should be a change or the paradigm shift in terms of how we did business at the time and how we are doing business or would be doing business in the next 5 to 10 years. So we are cognizant of these issues that have emanated from the past. We are cognizant of the issues of the vultures that are hovering around Denel that we are trying to quash with everything that we have. So yes, indeed, we will protect this IP from those mechanisms that I have put forth. Thank you very much. I think I might have covered all. If I missed anything, please, members, you can just indicate if I didn't answer your question properly. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think before the DG can come in, I had the chair of the board is also here. DG, you will cover up after the chair of the board has made some inputs.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and thank you to our co-chairman and honorable members. Mindful that this is pretty much an executive meeting, ours is here to support them. I can make one or two comments. It's very important that I stress that this board and this executive and they think are able to take Denel forward. And we have shown our shortcomings, and some of which is the actual resources to act some of those things. And so when we say help us here and here's our turnaround plan, it is meant to say help us with that plan. It is what it is. We inherit what is here, but as a board and as a chairman and as a CEO, you never go back to say, I was not here. You inherit and you own it, and you have to do something. So what I can just say to you, honorable members, is that we are willing and keen to do what is possible to take Denel to where it is supposed to be. Given the environment we are in, which is also extremely different from a Denel before, we are not the only ones who have been hit by, on top of our own problems, we have been hit by the last 15 months. It hasn't been easy. And we take that in the chin because we are not the only ones. All I wanted to say is that, Chairman, we're quite keen to take Denel forward with the help of the Parliament and the honorable members and our shareholder. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DG.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. The first point we were asked to comment on was the explosion at RDM. The report by RDM itself has been completed. There is some improvements to the layout of the facility that have been implemented. For instance, ensuring there is adequate distance between the blending facilities as well as where employees are located is one of the improvements that have been brought in. The training, the retraining and improvement of processes and procedures in the business have been incorporated to ensure lessons from that horrible incident at the facility. The Department of Labor has started its own inquiry led by the inspector of, it's called the Health and Safety Inspector as well as explosions, I think that's how it is called. It started in May, it is this year, it is continuing. It has had to be stopped at some point due to restrictions of the pandemic restrictions, but it is expected to resume fairly soon. So So that inquiry will also come with its own recommendations, which will be incorporated when they come through. Chair, there were points made around the need to recapitalize Denel, and I thought I'd just repeat the point that I made earlier. Businesses, be they public or private, at times will approach their shareholders to be recapitalized. What we are departing from is the history of funding operational losses and not demanding fundamental restructure of the business to ensure that it is sustainable going forward. The request that Denel has made is more in the latter category. It is restructuring itself. It remains a viable business. It has a healthy order book, and it deserves to be given a chance to to continue to play a positive role in our country. And Denel, we are not talking about any other business here. We are talking about a business that is very fundamental and integral to the South African security system. Across our arms of service, we have many products for which Denel is an OEM. That with Denel's demise, our defense force will find itself in a very difficult position. For instance, when on the Air Force side, the Oryx transport helicopter, as well as the Rooivalk, some of the well-known products, which Denel is an OEM of. We have the G5 and the G6s on the Army side, which Denel is an OEM of. And of course, we have a suite of missiles, as well as other arms that are provided by Denel, which it would actually be almost unaffordable for this country to be seeking a third-party country to supply at a short time. And also while placing this country at risk, if we do not, if we were to literally make a decision to liquidate our own arms industry. Because Denel is a very critical component of the South African arms industry. All these companies, a significant portion of them, are dependent on orders that Denel secures. Denel outsources a lot of work into the industry. The last exercise that we did to determine that was that for every job that is in Denel, there's 6 others in industry that are supported. So when Denel encounters challenges, it has a huge ripple effect across the industry. And for that reason, it is important as government that we seek to protect it, not only for our own security, but ensuring that that economy that is formed around Denel is sustained in those communities that are dependent on that income continue to be going forward. We would want Denel going forward to go back to glory days in terms of turnover, but we're going to do it very responsibly and very slowly to ensure that we do not stretch ourselves in terms of capital requirements going forward. And of course, the partnerships in terms of various projects that need to be undertaken will inform the business of Denel in the future. The second comment, Chair, that I wanted to speak to is the issue of state capture. The comment was made that we should forget about this. These are the new realities that we are dealing with now. Therefore, the current leadership cannot keep raising this, but we have to raise it. Denel has found itself where it is today exactly because of state capture and corruption and mismanagement, due to those that have now left Denel. But the legacy that they've left behind is what this team here this board and this executive team have to contend with. It is easy to destroy, but it's very difficult to build. So we can imagine that the previous board damage that they did during their tenure is now something that we have to do. And that damage has, despite a very healthy order book, meant that Denel could not access markets for capital to be able to execute projects. It meant that some of the projects, for instance, had to be cancelled. It meant that good people that were in Denel at the time were chased away. That's the history that we're having to deal with and contend with. So as we reposition and rebuild these institutions, we have to remind South Africans of what we are having to deal with. And we have seen it across our SOEs. These have been ventilated. Now, to be told that we should not go back there, I think it cannot be correct. Because how are we going to explain what we are dealing with if you do not go back there? This board and this executive are the firefighters. They are putting out the fire that was started by those that have left. So it cannot be that while they are doing that, it is insinuated that somebody had something to do with the fire. I think what this board and this executive require is support for it to be able to do the work that they need to do. And the fact that even with the difficult liquidity position that Denel is in, where it is unable to pay salaries, that they continue to do their work, I think it's something that should be commended. That is patriotism. And we extend the same to the other employees of Denel. We have continued to do their work despite the situation that they found themselves in. Now, within government, we are doing something with that. Denel continues to enjoy the support of government, and that has been reflected, as we have said earlier, in government stepping in to ensure that government guaranteed loans are paid off. We are currently determining in the form of support that Denel will receive in order to restructure itself and in order to ensure that it has the working capital to execute the orders such that it's able to generate the cash flows required, such that it's able to pay its employees' salaries, to pay its suppliers who are critical to the economy that is that Denel has set around itself. Now, business rescue and liquidation would not be applicable here, nor will they be appropriate, because, as I said, government has provided the support required, and in doing all this, we are always ensuring that we are doing so responsibly within the government's prescripts that inform corporate management in this country. Chair, I will stop there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, DG, and thanks to the board chair and the CEO for the responses. From where I'm sitting, quite a number of questions that might not have been responded to will require that we have that session as proposed by Honorable Shabalala and seconded by other members, where we request the defense, police, SIU, and have a joint meeting, all of us. That will be the planning that I will do together with my co-chair, that we have that session, wrap up all the issues that are outstanding, raised by honorable members, and see how we can take Denel forward. But before I hand over back to my co-chair, I would like to thank honorable members for the insightful engagements. If there are any other follow-up questions, we can put them in writing and send them to the Secretariat so that they are forwarded. And before we have that all-inclusive session where we deal with all the issues outstanding in relation to Denel. My co-chair I'm handing over back to you to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable TB, the chair of the Select Committee. I think you have done a very wonderful job. I appreciate the manner in which you have allowed everybody to participate in this session. But in relation to some of the proposals, we'll have to deal with them outside this session, and we'll be coming back to the honorable members in terms of the way forward. For me now is to just appreciate, as you have already done that, to all our participants, the invitees, including the observers who have joined our session. We appreciate your presence and thank you very much. Honorable members, I think now we have reached the end of this session. Thank you so much. The meeting has been adjourned.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much.
Long live the chair.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, ama-minutes ungathi wakhohliwe nje. We're not going to do it.
Recording stopped.
Start meeting.